We grew up with a lot of motivational tidbits telling us not to quit, to continue or pursue whatever we are pursuing. Maybe a project or whatever it is, a dream, a vision, a mission, or a goal. We're advised sometimes to keep doing this and not quit. We're made to understand that quitting is not an option. But come to think about it, is quitting always a failure? Is quitting always bad? Is it always wrong for us to quit? These are interesting questions you and I need to ruminate on. Have you read the interesting book by Annie Duke? It says, Quit, the Power of Knowing When to Walk Away. We're going to bring out some lessons from that book for us to understand that quitting is not a failure, for us to know when to quit. The first lesson I want to bring out is this. You see, quitting is a skill. Knowing when to walk away. It is important. Most times we have this narrative that walking away from situations is wrong or is bad. We're not pursuing things till the conclusive end is wrong. No, it is not. It is your ability to know when to quit. If I should digress a bit, let's look at an abusive marriage that ended up where one of the partner killed the other spouse. You see, when a relationship is abusive, sometimes in this part of the world, our religion teaches us to keep on believing that that relationship will change. If the relationship is life-threatening and abusive, it is best for us to walk away. I remember I used the word abusive, physically abusive, and life-threatening. So when you walk away from such relationship, you're quitting it, does not mean that you are a failure. Rather, it means that you've taken time to go to reconsider and then launch out in a different dimension. So quitting most times is not a failure. It is a skill. Knowing the right time to quit. You might be on a project or on a vision or a mission or whatever. Your ability to assess the situation, looking at the consequences from the beginning, the end, and knowing when to quit is a skill. The second lesson I want to talk about is the sunk cost fallacy. Most times when we consider quitting from a project, we tend to consider the cost we've spent, the time and energy we've expended on such project. And when this is huge, we decide to follow through with the project. No, the sunk cost fallacy teaches us that even when you consider the cost you've expended on such projects, look at the end result. If the end result does not justify what you have done, or it's not what you are expecting, it's important to do what? You forgo the cost that you've spent on such project. For instance, there is a rail bridge that was built. When the bridge was constructed, the initial plan was drawn. It was to serve two important points. But in the long run, due to a natural disaster, one of the points was affected, was destroyed. Now, if you want to continue the bridge because you've started it, what will be the end result? The second point, the one the bridge to get to, is no longer in use. So these are some of the things you need to consider. Don't just look because you've spent so much and so you must continue the project. Look at the end result. If the end result is justifiable, you can continue. But if not, you need to stop. The third thing I want to talk about is the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, it is simple. We need to consider the implications, or rather the consequences of our continual investment in such project or such vision. What is the opportunity cost? What is the end result? If I continue to do this thing, what will happen in the long run? Kodak, for instance, filmmaking company. You see, if they had continued investing in Kodak, when digital camera has taken that ground, you see, they're going to lose. You understand? So it is important you take your opportunity cost, you consider the implications before you go ahead with whatever you want to do. The next thing I want to talk about is escalation of commitment. It is important I note this like this. You see, be aware of the tendency to double down on a failing investment. I use the word failing investment. If that investment is failing, you need to recognize you are throwing good resources after bad and useless investment. When you're throwing good value to things that you know does not work what it was before, it is important to do what you quit. So you can see it is not always right for us to think that quitting is wrong. When they tell us don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, it is not always wrong for you to quit. Then another thing we need to talk about is the power of quitting early. If you have the ability to visualize the end game from the beginning, it is important you quit early so that you can channel your resources to things that will be beneficial in the long run. Quitting early is better than quitting late, provided you've done your feasibility studies, you've done your analysis. Another thing we need to understand is this. It is important we know that due to changing times, changing technology, increase in scientific discovery, most of those things you've started before now you want to achieve, try to appraise them as time goes on. If you appraise them as time goes on, it will enable you understand on time when to quit or when to continue, especially when there are advancements that have taken over that your obsolete idea that you have. Then finally, I want to talk about quitting as a self-care strategy. Yes, if you've been able to come to that point where you understand that that vision or that thing you're pursuing will be detrimental to your person, it is important you quit early. Quit toxic relationship, toxic business plans, toxic society or toxic environment. It's important you understand this. When this will be detrimental to your person, it is important you quit on time. So quitting is not always bad. That is our perception. Sometimes quitting can be good. You need to be able to evaluate, you need to be able to appraise the situation and decide when to quit and when not to quit. We've seen different persons quitting their positions or maybe their job because of the health implication that comes from it. Sometimes such jobs that are hazardous to your health might be paying very well. But if you end up with, say, you have a lung disease or heart disease, you see that money will be meaningless to you. So these are some of the things you need to think about and decide to quit. Remember, we talked about quitting early. We talked about the sunk cost fallacy. We talked about the opportunity cost. These are things you need to consider. So it is not always wrong for you to quit. But before you quit, make sure you've done your analysis very, very well. We're going to stop here for now. Remember to like, comment, and don't forget to share. Thank you.